Okay, so here we are. We've got multiple top 5 lists here. The reason is, I mean, it's kind of similar to the one that you and I did, Eric, last episode, but basically it's top 5 component lists for board games. We got 3 of them for you, just because I don't think that either of them or any of them are going to spark a lot of conversation. So, conversation? Anyway, I'm making fun of myself. So I wanted to have a couple of lists because I think we're going to kind of blast through this, and they're fun lists, just probably not enough meat on them to have them by themselves.
Sure.
So the first list we have is top 5 wooden gaming components. Now, all these lists, I would assume, you all might have done something slightly different. These are components that you'll typically find in these games. It's not like, somebody remade something out of wood.
Right.
It's like, I remade my game out of wood. Settlers of Catan or whatever. So we're going to start with George. What is your your number 5 wooden gaming components?
Okay, so not my honorable mention?
No, we'll do that before number 1.
That's before number 1.
We do 5, 4, 3, 2, honorable mention, 1.
It's been a while. All right, so my number 5 is the Los Momphos Donkeys.
What?
Los Momphos is a game that is a memory game where you have these 3 wooden donkeys and you have them in a circle and you move them around in a circle, and as they move you feed them little wooden discs of different colors, and at a certain time they all poop out their discs, but before they do you have to...
Sounds awesome.
Are you physically putting them into a wooden device? That's awesome.
It's a wooden donkey. It's a wooden donkey with, like, forgive the expression, a tail flap, and they empty themselves, but before they do, you say, you bet which color is going to have the most. Do you know what I mean? Like, so
we gotta play this.
This is why we do these lists. You found out games like Crap and Donkeys.
Right. Los Momphos is a great quote unquote children's game, but it's so like hard to keep it straight in your head, and it's just simple. It's just these stupid 3 donkeys moving around eating different colored things, and you can't figure out what color is going to come out. It's great.
That's fantastic.
I cannot find anything on this game, but I'll keep looking because that sounds kind of entertaining.
Oh, you gonna write it down?
No, I was just going to look at it. I was just curious as to what it looked like. It was funny. We were sitting here talking, and something popped in my head. Oh, I know what it was. But I'll start with 5 tribes. I like the palm trees. I think it's cool that the palm trees are in there. I don't know. It's just kind of...
No, they look cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, nothing special about them. They're just... I think it's a neat cutout for a wood piece. So.
That's cool.
Fair enough.
Cool. Number 5 for me is Not So Fast. Just those big chunky nuts.
Jeez.
Really? Really?
I'm straight up pulling a Fry here. I'm like, can't tell if serious or trolling.
They're so good.
Well, number 5 is the Colt Express Cowboy Meeples. There's a lot of cool Meeples out there, and I think these might be some of my favorite ones. Other than the fact that if you listen to us last episode, I talked about constructible things being one of my top 5, like the trains. This is probably the first thing that drove me into getting this because, Cowboy Meeples. That's awesome.
Nice.
All right, number 4 for you.
Okay, my number 4 is called Wallamapi.
We're basically are these real games?
What in the world?
He's making all this up.
Yeah, this is why I can't find them.
I said no discussion basically, and it's like the most interesting thing ever. All right, continue.
Wallamapi is spelled Wallamoppi, and by the way, Los Momphos is LOSMAMPFOS. Anyway, so Wallamapi is a game that doesn't get enough love. It is a game that has a wooden box. And inside the wooden box, there are tracks that go back and forth. So you drop a marble, and it goes down the track, and it drops to the next one. It goes down that track and drops. So it's like click, 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 click. And while it's happening, if it gets to the bottom and you haven't finished your thing, you lose. So it's freaking you out, first of all. And
when you can't see it?
You can see it, but you mostly hear it because you can't be looking at it. Like, you don't have time.
So it's kind of like a timer, but it's not like a metronome because it's kind of random intervals.
Yeah, it's just gravity, right? And so you have this very specific time limit. But what you have to do is there are all these wooden discs, and they're stacked up in this big pyramid, and you have to knock one of them out or pick one of them out like Jenga, and then stack it on the very top of the pyramid. So you start stacking them up higher and higher and higher. And if the whole thing falls over, you lose. and the way I like to play it, it's a 2-player game, supposedly, but that's not fun. What's much more fun is you get a whole group of people and you're in a line, and the line rotates, and you have to go super fast. So you do your thing, and you go to the end of the line, and you keep going. And whoever loses is
kind of like a team game then. Maybe?
You laugh at the person who loses. It's fantastic.
Gotcha.
That sounds awesome.
So
We're going to have to get your list after this. Follow up after that, Matt.
Yeah. Good thing I'm not after George.
I like the sticks in our curriculum.
Fences. No, actually, I like the camels in Camel Up.
Okay.
It's not as interesting as George's. I get it, but mainly just because how they stack and move together.
I actually thought all of ours were going to be like that. And then George is
George has to bring in stuff we can't even pronounce and spell. Thanks, George.
Yeah, sorry.
Number 4 for me, I'm going to go from nuts to balls. So Dimensions has these balls. They're awesome. So you have all these multicolored balls. You have to put them in a pyramid.
Said not so balls.
From nuts to balls.
Oh.
You had to ask.
Still can't tell if serious. All right, keep going.
But anyway, in this game, it's a real-time game where you are stacking these balls, and they have to be in particular orders. Orange can't be on top of blue and whatnot. All your blues have to touch, or your white balls have to touch black balls.
Speed game.
Yeah, no, It is actually cool. I almost like, even though it's not a wooden component, I like the little trays you put your balls on almost as much as the balls, because it's actually really cool. It's so simple, and it's like slightly elevated.
Wait, what is it made out of then?
I think it's made out of cardboard.
Right, it is.
Is it cardboard or plastic?
It's cardboard.
I mean, that's wood. That's basically wood.
Yeah, it's like
right.
shredded
It's
wood.
made from wood.
Wood with glue. My number 4 is the Meeple, the vehicle Meeples in Rampage or Terror Meeple City, because some of my components here, like obviously we're talking about components that we like, and maybe sometimes what they do in the game, and this one's definitely what is flicking one of those school buses across the map to hit another guy is so fun. Smashing a building with it, like that's so cool. I just like to flick those things and stuff. It's really hard to do, but it's nice.
It's gonna hurt your finger.
It's gonna hurt your finger, but you can do it.
That's a great choice.
Yeah.
All right, my number 3 is the boat in Riff Raff. There's a boat, a wooden boat that has axes on 2 different planes, so that you hang wooden pieces off the masts and sails of it, and it makes the whole thing rock around. It's fantastic.
That sounds pretty cool.
Oh.
I'm learning about all kinds of games here.
There's nice boats and lifeboats as well. Or is it lifeboat?
Lifeboats.
Boats.
Yeah, the one where you put the water in it and stuff and they sink. Yeah.
I didn't put that on my list, but thinking about it, it should have been maybe up there.
Yeah. Riff Raff, great boat.
Riff Raff. I like the bamboo in Takanoko. It's neat to kind of stack it up and
I
stuff.
totally thought Matt was going to do this.
Yes. They're simple and they're small, but you sit there and you make your little bamboo sticks. It's always fun inserting them in each other. So,
you ever thought about spending the $300 for the collector's edition?
Yes, but no.
I thought about it.
Oh, I
For
definitely
a
thought about
second.
it.
I thought about
I was like, I don't have $300.
Mortgaging my house to buy things too.
Yeah. All right, number 3 for me is the huge wooden cup in Mogul. So it just comes with this big wooden cup that you pass around, and you are basically playing no thanks, and you have to put one of your wooden components in and be like, no, I don't want it.
That's fair. My number 3 is the discs from Crokinole, which are actually in a lot of games, not just Crokinole. Other games use them as well. But I really like flicking games, and Crokinole is awesome. And I think it's a great size. I like that they're curved and everything. It's a very simple thing, but it is really cool.
Both sides are different. I believe you do one side if you want it to, to
you get
slide
different
along a little easier.
Exactly, because you get that little nub kind of on one side, and the other side's kind of concave. I don't know if that's actually just a manufacturing defect, but
no, they're supposed to be like that.
Oh, okay, cool. Because it seems like each disc that I have is almost like it performs differently.
Oh.
You have to number them.
Number of like yeah. It's like
give me a number 5,
like golf.
Yeah.
Get my number 1 out. It goes really far.
Yeah.
I'll take out my number 2 or number 5 if I don't want it to go very far.
What's your number 2?
My number 2 is actually my number 2 wooden game. It is called Blocky Mountains, and it's the bear from Blocky Mountains. Blocky Mountains is a game where you build a obstacle course out of all these wooden blocks, and then you have a mountaineer and a bear, and you've got to move the guy and I guess his bear friend. I'm not sure why the bear is coming along, but you have to like use a crane device and move him through this obstacle course. He's got to like swing across chasms. He's got to like knock discs and different things. It's the best. It's the bear
Nice.
is fantastic.
These are the weirdest games. They sound great, but
So good.
really weird. My number 2, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Survive, Escape from Atlantis. I really like the squid cutouts, just because it's a unique shape.
Oh yeah.
I like seeing wood pieces in unique shapes versus like meeples and squares. So
I debated the serpent, the sea serpent.
Yeah.
yep.
Number 2 for me is also Matt said it's Takenoko the bamboo. So I think they did a really good job with it. They could have used stack
Or bamboo. They could have used bamboo.
actual bamboo.
You grew it.
They could have just used little blocks or something. But it makes the game stand out a lot better. Making these little bamboos.
That's fair. My number 2 is the tracks from Pitch Car. Because
Are they wooden?
oh yeah,
they are.
They're like
Yeah,
solid
yeah.
wood. The box is like
That's right.
5,000 pounds. It's super good. It's got that I guess like a laminate on top so that you flick your crocodile disc cars across it. Basically, this whole component list is Pitch Car. Anyway, yeah, Pitch Car is awesome.
Yeah, I like it.
Although I'm not sure about the loop, but we'll get back to we'll talk about that next time.
We did the loop.
We did, and we were slightly unimpressed.
You couldn't make it over, but I did. Anyway,
The loop. No, we did it at Origins.
we did.
Oh, I made it over. Whatever. I see what
Did
you're
you?
saying.
Okay.
Yeah, it took me twice, but whatever. I went before you. I had to flick it harder.
Yeah.
You got an
I
honorable
learned
mention?
from you.
I do have an honorable mention. This is a honorable mention for Spurs, the game of the Old West, and it's the wooden bullets. And in Spurs, which is essentially the game that was entirely overlooked when everyone started hyping about Western Legends and saying what a great original
Western.
game it was. Spurs did it all sooner and better. And in Spurs, instead of having combat resolved by poker hands, you have draw bags. And you reach in your draw bag and you pull out a bullet. And you do it, it's a speed thing. And if you pull out the right color bullet, then you shoot the guy. It's so much fun. It's like draw, and you're actually drawing out of a bag.
Have we
That's
played
dope.
this?
No.
Why are we not playing this?
Bring that over.
I will. I love that game.
That sounds awesome. We go like bam, bam.
And it's a sandbox. It's a sandbox Western like Western Legends. And everyone said Western Legends, what a great idea. And it's like, no, it's been done, and actually it's better.
Huh.
Yeah.
My honorable mention is the promo piece for Animal Upon Animal. It was a big rhinoceros that they gave out at Gen Con a few years ago. I think you get
Oh.
You can never find it.
it was
But
it was a rhinoceros and a pig I think they were giving out, but
Yeah.
the rhino was like massive.
it was massive.
Oh,
It was a
Yeah.
big old piece of wood.
Is it like the starting piece? Do you use that as the starting piece?
No, it's just one of your pieces
Yeah, it's
you
just
put
one of your
out.
pieces you use. Yeah.
Yeah, we got enough of them to have one for each of the 4 players.
That's
Yes.
cool.
Yeah.
Honorable mention for me is said before, it's also Rampage, just the dinosaurs and I guess they're monsters and the cars.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Mine's a pretty basic one, but it's the columns in Elysium. They're just big and chunky. The only reason they're more of an honorable mention is because you don't really do much with them. They just stand there. And like they're like a requirement. You pick a card and then you knock one of them down. So it'd be cool if you like bash with them or something and put them out there or something, but they just kind of stand there. So they're honorable mention because they're okay in game terms. Not really necessary, but they're neat.
Yep. That's a good game too.
Yeah. Oh, I like it.
Okay. My number 1 is a soccer game. Go figure. This is the wooden playing field of Way Kick. And Way Kick is a game where you're playing soccer on this big wooden board and you reach underneath it and you have a magnet that you hold onto. And on top of the magnet is your playing figure. So you move the magnet around and it moves your playing figure on the board and you're kicking a wooden soccer ball and it pings around this. And
This is kind of like Classic, I guess.
yes, but way better. Oh, it's so good.
Cool.
My
Sounds expensive, but
It is. It's frightfully expensive. Worth every penny.
that's fair.
My number one, as I said, I like the different kind of looking cutouts. So Dixit, I'm not like the biggest fan of the game, but the little bunny.
Oh, bunnies.
Yeah, the little bunnies.
Oh
is
yeah,
really
that makes
awesome.
sense. Matt likes the bunnies.
Those were the original Dixit pieces, and then
They
they
changed
moved away
it.
from it. Didn't
Oh
they?
really? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway,
Number one, Eric.
Number one is actually the Emperor Center's consoles of the old edition of Coliseum. I did get the newer version, but I was like, oh man, I really like those old chunky.
Like the actual Coliseum that gets built in the middle.
no,
No,
the people.
Oh, the people, right?
Oh, the people.
They're not regular meeples. They're kind of. It's kind of hard to have like a big head and it's
They have like a round head.
right, a round head and a flowing body. I don't know how to describe it. You have to look it up.
Does the Emperor have a fig?
Yeah, they have I'm not
laurel
sure if they're-
laurel leaves.
Right, they have other decorations on that.
You're
meeple.
saying you like the ones from the
old version?
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah.
Coliseum.
That's the only thing I think is absolutely stupid in the newest one is the actual player figures.
Well, and the cover, the box art.
Yeah, and, well,
Yeah.
and the art.
Well, anyway, my number one is the board from Tumbling Dice.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yes.
For obvious reasons, because it's amazing. Even though I had to drill extra holes in mine to put different pegs because I didn't like the way it sagged and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah. But it did it and it worked. So,
Okay.
but yeah, Tumbling Dice is amazing.
Do you have the regular size one or like the mini one?
No, I've got the regular size one.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not the newest one that's blue by Eagle Griffin. I've got the brown one. It's the exact same thing, but it's just a different color.
I didn't realize it was a blue one.
Yeah. I kind of wish I would have had the blue one, but I like blue. Mine's like tans.
You can paint it.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to our top 5 plastic components, and we're going to start this one out with Matt. What's your number 5 plastic?
Sorry, I was admiring the figures from Coliseum are kind of neat looking.
They're dope.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome
like a
looking.
little ball on a pond.
So what we're doing? We're doing
Bob.
plastic.
Plastic.
What did I? 1, 2, 3, 4. What did I?
Should we start with Eric?
Number 5.
Eric,
Yeah,
you're
go
number
ahead.
5.
I can't tell what I did.
We'll come back.
I wrote some stuff.
Do it, Eric. You're number
Cross stuff
5.
out.
Number 5, plastic. The tiles in Azul. So I think they did an awesome job. I mean, there's not a lot of artwork that you can put on a towel, but they did an awesome job and it looks really good on the table.
You good, Matt?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. My number 5 is the gemstones in Bling Bling Gemstone because they sound like glass when they fall off. It's like,
Right.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's satisfying to hear a ton of those fall at once. You're like, yes.
Well,
and they're nice. They're translucent.
Yeah.
Translucent stuff's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Agreed. My number 5 for plastic is the berries from Everdell. Little squishy.
Oh, the
Yeah.
squishy
Yeah,
berries.
that's
berries.
Those are really
They're
nice.
so good.
Yeah, they are.
That should have been on my list too. Those are good.
My number 5 is oddly enough, I like playing with the Splendor coin thingies, the
poker
chips.
chips?
Yeah, the
Poker
poker
chips.
chips, man,
That's fair.
because they feel they're real bulky, they're solid feeling. So
Oh yeah.
it's I like getting those.
I put those on my top 5 from last week. But specifically because I talked about poker chips, but
Yeah.
specifically talking about Clout Fantasy, which is basically the same ones.
Right.
Number 4 for me is When I Dreamed. That plastic bed. I mean, it's just a card holder, but but it's nice.
Yeah.
That is pretty fun. Number 4 for me, I will probably say if I had to do an act like this is top 5 favorite, but if I had to do an actual top 5 list where it's like the best components, I would have to say this might be in the top 2, and that's the dice holders that are in Coimbra. It is so
Oh.
fantastic.
They
I
made those
don't know
so
that.
well.
Yeah, like so in Coimbra you roll dice and you have to keep the sides the right way and you slot them into these like plastic container things. It's so satisfying. It is. They're so good.
Are they on the board? Where are
No,
they?
No,
like they're your
They're
color.
your colors.
Yeah, so you put them on, and they're like, so you get dice. They go in front of you. You draft the dice or something.
Yeah.
And you put them in these little stands that you put your color stands.
Yeah.
And then when you put the dice out there, you know who put those dice out there because they're in your stand.
Okay.
But they fit so snug. If you knock them over, it stays, so you know which side it should go back on.
Yeah.
They are fantastic. As a matter of fact,
They made them well.
yeah, they're made really well. They look pretty cool, and it is a very, very good thing that everyone else should try to rip off. If they're making a game where you roll dice and you need to keep the facing, these are fantastic.
Which is a lot of games.
Oh yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Like they're awesome. Show George if you got it.
Yeah, they look like. Are they like little
look at
castles or
that.
something?
Yeah.
Or are they supposed to be like little castles or houses?
I think they're little castles.
And they link
stuff.
together with each other?
No, they don't connect to each other, but they they sit flush next to each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
They are fantastic.
I like it.
Yeah, like there's miniature games where you have to put the little plastic thing, like Blood Rage, where you put the little ring around your character.
Yeah.
Like those are awesome. This is the next step. This is for dice. I think a lot of games should really take note and steal it.
Yeah.
Borrow, be influenced by, whatever.
Good shout. My number 4 is the plastic device of the game Tapple, which is this round alphabet, and you click down all the letters when you play the game.
I like Tapple.
It works so well.
Man, I really wish that would work on the podcast, because I thought about how can we make it work?
I can
Like to play it on the podcast. I mean, no one would be able to see what's left and stuff.
That's true.
I don't know.
Maybe not.
I'd have to put a mic on the thing so you hear.
It's such a good game, though.
Yeah.
Number 4?
Yep.
Yeah. So going back with big and kind of like chunky filling, the tiles from Hive with all the bugs and stuff
thought
on
about
them.
putting it on here.
Yeah. So those are just
Really
really
well
chunky
made,
and solid.
lights.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Love it.
That's fair.
Number 3 for me is the Rising Sun. They added a lot of plastic to that game. If you did the Kickstarter stuff,
Just
but,
all the plastic.
just all the plastic.
Rising Sun
There's
plastic.
action tiles.
Yeah.
Those are really nice. As well as they upgraded the strongholds, and especially the turtle stronghold. It's really well made.
Fair enough. Number 3 for me is interesting because it's okay, but it made such an impact on me, and it's the dry erase boards in Crosstalk. When you first get those things and you peel off the plastic, they are so quality. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, we played this. Yeah.
They are so good.
Great game too.
Yeah, it's a great game. It's like a plastic dry erase board. I mean, I feel like I'm gonna snap it in half if I bend it hard enough. But all the little plastic dry erase boards in that game, they're fantastic.
Which, by the way, thanks again, Eric, for winning that game for me at that convention.
At the fair where you were throwing the darts.
Yeah.
It's like winning the stuffed animal.
Yeah. That's kind of what it felt like, but I do appreciate it. It's a great game. Okay, my number 3 is another plastic device kind of game called Monster Trap or Monster Fall, Falle. But I think it's just called Monster Trap. And you have a box. The box itself is the device, and then one player is going left to right and the other player is going up and down, and you have to move the monster around and get him from one spot to another through this maze, but you have to work together. So good.
Yes, I remember that game. What was it called now?
Monster Trap or Monster Fall.
I could not remember the name of this game.
Is it printed as 2 different ones, or you can't remember exactly? You say Monster Trap or Monster Fall?
But my version is called Monster Fall, but I think that's like the German version or something.
Oh, I got it.
But I think it's called Monster Trap.
That's cool.
It's a brilliant.
There's a new
Brilliant
game
game,
that's
yeah.
like that. It's called Slide Quest.
Yes, it arrived at my house today.
Oh my gosh, we are so playing this.
Yeah,
dude, it's basically like the same thing he just said, but with 4 people, one on each side of the box, and it's like a little RPG style thing where you're trying to get around and knock enemies off and stuff.
Oh,
right.
Neat.
Do you know those labyrinth games where you turn the dials to tilt the board? Yeah, it's like that. Only you have a little knight that's on a ball bearing who rolls around, and you have to knock people into holes. And you have to watch out for like dynamite sticks. I don't know. It's gonna be great.
Neat.
Awesome.
It's so good.
Yeah, it arrived today. I was so irritated because it was supposed to arrive yesterday. I thought we could play it before the podcast, but no.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
I know.
There's a game on the phone that Square Enix used to make on the iPhone way back in the early, like I think I had it on the 3GS. It's no longer on the App Store, but it was called Sliding Heroes, and it's a Final Fantasy game that was exactly that.
Wow.
Where you spawned in so many knights and archers and stuff like that, and you had to take your phone and like turn the phone and have all the pieces like knock each other around, and
that's
like
cool.
the warriors had to like bump into the guys to do damage, but the
Yeah.
archers just had to be close to them to shoot them.
Right.
After I saw Slide Quest, I was like, oh, I got on my phone and tried to look it up, and it's no longer on there. So
There's another game. What was it? Mystery Manor, where you slide the box around and there's all these pieces, and you have to isolate certain pieces in a room.
I hated
I remember that. Yeah.
That game's garbage.
we played it.
Basically, you're shuffling garbage around inside of a garbage
Yeah,
box
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
play a garbage game.
Okay, I'll take your word. I never played it.
Yeah, it was, we
no.
played it for about 10 seconds. We're like,
All right.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Funny.
That was not that good.
Yeah.
Number 3.
Yep.
Mine is the pirate ships from Blackfleet.
Yes.
Because they're cool looking, but you can
are.
also, as you're moving stuff around, you put your little cubes and stuff in them because they have little compartments for that.
Yep.
And then on top of that, that insert that is a skull is
That is pretty
outstanding.
awesome.
That's so good.
That was probably my favorite part. I mean, the game's awesome, but when you saw the skull, you're like, yes.
Yeah.
Number 2 for me is the plastic airships and Kings of Air and Steam.
Those are
So-
pretty awesome.
Yeah. So they, I think they upgraded it during the Kickstarter, but I think it's in all versions.
Nice.
Those are pretty good. We're on number 2, right?
Yes.
My number 2 are the penguins from Ice Cool. Again, with the
Oh,
flicking
yeah.
things, but they're just so fun. I mean, the
So
fact that you
wobbly.
can they're wobbly, but you can do a lot of cool things. You can get them to flip over
Oh, yeah.
walls. You can get them to do like the curving and stuff. It's just a satisfying feeling when you kind of get how to flick them.
Right.
So super good.
That's
Yeah.
definitely one game that, if you get down how to maneuver the penguins, you can pull off some really cool and
Yeah.
impressive moves.
Like wearing bandages on your fingers.
After a while.
Yeah, and they hurt.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not paying attention, you flick the guy's nose because
Well-
that thing's pointy, man. Like, it basically punctures your
nail. You're supposed to like flick him in the head and,
Yeah,
and
and
somersault
cause
him
them to tumble
over.
over. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
difficult.
Yeah. Although it is kind of a cheat because they do have a weight in them, so they're not pure plastic, but still.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're
Whatever.
mostly plastic.
Yeah.
Not by weight though.
All right. My number 2 are the coconuts monkeys and the little coconuts.
Yeah.
And I guess the cups too. That whole game is plastic.
Yeah, basically the whole game is plastic. It's
Oh,
like $3 to make.
It's so much fun though. Flipping
Yeah.
those coconuts everywhere. Oh,
Yeah.
it's the best.
And then afterward, just going and fighting them all.
Yeah. You need safety glasses.
Number 2.
Yep.
It was funny because I wrote down item rack, but then I just looked. That was out of cardboard, but I'm going to go with the meeples and the weapons from Tiny Epic Quest.
All right.
The item meeples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of it.
I'm surprised you didn't say that one.
Well, I put those in my top 5 board game components.
Ah.
Like just the ones from that and Tiny Epic Zombies and Tiny
Right.
Epic Mechs and Tiny Epic
Yeah.
Tactics. Because I talked about how awesome it is to equip the guy that you have on the board with what he actually has.
Yeah.
That's so fantastic.
Yeah, it's a good choice.
So for my number 1, I kind of mentioned
Wait,
that.
do you have an honorable mention?
Honorable mention. Okay.
Nate,
Okay.
you're on number
I'm
2,
Sorry.
man.
Huh? No, he just did his too.
I started.
Yeah, he started.
Oh, okay. Well,
Do you have an honorable mention?
sure. Matt's already talked about it, but just the poker chips in Splendor and other games like it, those type of chips. So
Fair enough.
I think they add a lot to the game, and they feel awesome.
My honorable mention is one of my top 5 from the last episode, and it's the Pirates of the Spanish Main ships. So if you're not familiar, basically they're credit cards type material. They're called Plasticard.
Talk to me about that.
I was supposed to get them out and show you them, but basically they're flat. You remember this game, Matt?
Yeah, I saw my box of it the other day.
Oh, did you really? Yeah. So you like punch them out of the card. You build this little 3D pirate ship. You play the game, and then you take it apart and put it back into the card because
cool.
they sit back in there very well. And it has its stats on the card and everything. So basically, you just carry a card case, and then you assemble your ships, and then you put them back into a card case. Fantastic.
You use the card as a measuring device too when you move.
You
thing,
do.
right?
You and to shoot as well. You use the long side or the short side.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It was a fantastic game. I mean,
Wow.
it was okay game. Hold on. The rules and the gameplay were okay. You just ran around to different islands. The islands were cardboard and they had gold on them, and you try to get back as much gold as possible. I think it's like first to get 7 or something like that. I don't remember, but the actual ships and the way you rolled the microscopic dice that the packs came with, it was awesome. Because like you buy a booster pack and it came with like 5 ships as something like maybe 3 or 5 ships, so 3 or 5 cards, but then the smallest 6-sided die you ever have seen in your life, and I have a giant pack of them.
Yeah.
They're great. It would take probably about 6 to cover my pinky nail.
Wow.
Oh my god.
They were legit small.
And they rolled true?
Well, I mean, they fell on the ground
Yeah.
and showed you a result. Typically, they would fall
Could you
on the,
read it?
for some reason, we always played on the carpet, so it didn't make any sense for us to roll those because they just fell into the fibers.
Right.
It's great.
I guess this was a travel type of
No,
game. No, it wasn't. Okay.
it was more like a collectible miniature game. Yeah.
Really miniature.
No, the game, like the actual ships were about as long as one of your fingers. They're pretty decent size. It's just
cool.
the die, because you buy picture buying a Magic the Gathering booster pack,
Yeah.
but a little bit thicker, and it had a microscopic die in it.
Okay.
So I mean, if the die was full size, it'd be like Star Wars Destiny, where the packs are massive.
Right.
So
Okay.
Spend all your cards.
yeah,
Economy of scale.
Yeah.
All right. So my honorable mention is another device game. And this is a game called Spinnergy. And it's a huge...
we're learning all kinds of stuff over here.
This is a game that's not terribly well regarded, but it's really a pretty good game. It's just the game itself. You have this large round device, and you spin it, and there's 3 things that spin in different directions. And underneath each of them, you put...
Spinnergy.
Yeah, you put a disc, and on the disc, there's just lots and lots of words. And so when you're done spinning, you get 3 things lined up, and they're 3 words randomly put together. But then the game itself, there's a big deck of cards, and the cards will tell you what you need to do with these 3 words. And in every case, you need to produce something, like it might be make a haiku with these 3 words, or
On the spot.
yeah, or tell an embarrassing story from your childhood, or I mean, it could be write a thesis on, whatever.
Write a thesis.
No, like not a whole thesis, but like honestly, this game is it is timed writing assignment, the game.
Oh.
And so to some people that's really fun. I love it.
Uh-huh.
But most people that's not that fun. But the piece that you spin, the plastic piece, works so well, and it's so unnecessary. All you need are 3 words. It's great.
Nice.
My honorable mention is growing up, one of my favorite board games that I used to play with my family was called Ghostbusters, but it was based off of the real Ghostbusters cartoon. It was a 3D game that you moved standee people through, but if you landed on certain spots, there would be like this skull that you dropped through this like tower that would come out in different spots, and if you were on like a tilting piece of, I guess the board or whatever, it would like hit there and knock your guy down. You had to go back to start in that area and stuff like that. But it was just neat because it was a plastic skull. It was just,
and it was called Ghostbusters.
Yeah, it was a Ghostbusters board game. Yeah,
cool. Was it kind of like Fireball Island, where you drop the skull and the skull knocks them down?
it was kind of.
Yeah.
But so like there would be one section would be like you're going up the stairs to get to the top of the whatever building it was they were going up to. So it might roll down them steps and knock you down.
Yeah.
Was one area, and I can't remember what it did in all the other ones. I think it would hit like a basket that would like flap one of the doors, and if you were standing in that exact spot, it'd knock you down. So
Like
it's just
Mousetrap.
yeah, kind of. So it was a skull though.
Awesome.
All right, which number 1, Eric?
Number 1, it was kind of on my list last podcast, but I'm going to do it again. Is Zolkin, the wheels, but not only the wheels, also the skulls that you might place on those wheels. So
More skulls, Matt.
yeah,
More
skulls and the wheel. I think it's a pretty unique concept in that game where the longer that you have your workers out, the more that they're going to produce for you.
Yeah.
Cool. My number 1, Matt. I thought about Fleet's ships because I really like those. I like that they're functional.
Yeah.
I tried to avoid putting a lot of miniatures on here, so I did both for number 1. The Wasteland Express Delivery
trucks.
cars, the trucks.
Yeah.
They're first off Mad Max style, amazing.
Only bad thing about those is putting on those stickers.
But if you paint them, it doesn't matter. You take the stickers off.
Take
and
that
paint
sticker
them.
off and paint
Yeah,
it.
that's what I did too.
Bam.
And then you can put. They're functional because they carry those different types of goods.
Right.
They're so fun, and especially the not that we played with it, but the one dude who's real big and he has that big guy on the front of his car. That was pretty cool. But one day we'll play with that dude. But otherwise, the player pieces and stuff are really fun.
They are great.
Yeah, and the raiders, the different raider clans or whatever, carrying the rest of them. So such good pieces. Yeah. I mean, I guess I could just say the game trays in there too, but
Yeah.
the whole game. No.
All right, my number one. My number one is, I hope, a call forward to another podcast because it is the fedoras in Detective City of Angels. The little plastic fedoras are amazing, first of all.
Oh, yes.
But also, that game is so good. Spoiler. That
I see what you're saying. Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Oh my
We just
God.
need to play it another, at least
Absolutely.
a couple more times.
6, 8 more times.
Yeah.
Detective City of Angels, little tiny plastic fedoras. Fantastic.
They are pretty cool. They should have been scaled with the miniatures, but that's fine.
They'd be really small in that case.
Right.
My number one, me and Eric share it. And I completely forgot about the skulls, so I'll throw them in there too. But I was more focused on the gears. I like the gears in Zolkin.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
All right, so our final actual top 5 for this episode, other than maybe Matt and George might have a quick one to fill in from last episode. Maybe we'll rush through this one.
Yep.
It's our top 5 custom dice, specifically the dice that would come with games, not like custom dice you buy from Chessex and customize them yourself. So I guess I'll start with this one. My number 5, the die doesn't, even though it's custom, it's not really the reason why it's on this list. It's the dice from City of Remnants. And I've talked about it before, but I absolutely love the layout of the numbers. It's 0, I'll say this, was 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3. And all they are like diamonds or whatever, like on the different sides or whatever. So it's not anything super custom, but the fact that it has that layout is one of my favorite layouts of a 6-sided die. With the numbers, I like the most time you're going to get a 1 or a 2, but there's a gamble of getting nothing and a gamble of getting a 3. So I really like the layout.
Yep. Okay, my number 5 is some of my favorite dice, Seasons dice.
Oh, yeah.
Big, chunky, really bright. They've got the symbols on them. They're great.
They're about the size that you can kill somebody. Yeah.
Yeah.
My number 5 is a game called Ninja vs. Ninja.
I've seen those dice.
yeah,
I've never played the game.
Yeah,
but
so it's pretty much, they're kind of like rectangular, but they have swords through them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they got the sword. Yeah.
Yeah, so
They're just 1 through 4.
yeah.
They're so good.
Yeah.
they're dope. Number 5 for me is the left football die in Battle Ball.
I thought somebody would put this. Yeah,
That's a cool die. My number 4 is the dice from Age of War. Basically, first off, it's feudal Japan, so it has like really cool symbols and everything. But I like that they're kind of a matte finish, and they're this cream color with different color swords and daimyo masks and all this other stuff. The game's okay to me. I can take it or leave it. I liked it, but whatever. The dice were awesome though.
Another game like that, Sutaku, which has
the white,
the stacking
chunky.
game.
But that's actually like
that has
kanji.
Kanji,
Yeah.
right?
But this is
The
like
kanji numbers.
just actual swords and cavalry units and arch. It's got some cool stuff.
You made me think of a game too. It's not on my list, but Ninja Dice. This is a cute little game.
I like
Yeah.
Ninja Dice.
Yeah.
I thought of that.
Yeah.
Anyway, my number 4 are the dice from Euphoria, Build a Better Dystopia.
Oh,
And you use the
game's
dice to represent your workers' intelligence level, and so they're like cogs that like what's turning in their brain. They're like 1 cog or 2 or 3. It's funny.
yeah.
That's funny.
It's good.
My number 4 is I put the Witcher adventure game dice.
Those are awesome. I seriously thought about putting them. Even
Yeah.
the game was like me.
Yeah, but
But
it's
dice,
just there's a lot of
what's
like
doing.
kind of filigree, stuff on them and everything.
yeah.
It's just they're really pretty looking dice. So
Yeah.
That's true.
A lot
number,
of detail.
Yeah.
number
Nice.
4 for me is the dice that you like to hate. Maybe is the Dead of Winter, the Crossroads, the exposure dice.
Exposure die.
The tooth.
So it gets a tooth and you're bitten. So I just like it because it does add that element where nothing's really safe. If you want to move around or attack a zombie, you have to roll for exposure, and it gives you that element of not really surprise, but something could go wrong. Fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just so weird that it's just 1 tooth.
Yeah, it's just 1 tooth.
Like it's not showing a bite or anything. It's just tooth.
Yeah, it could have just been like a mouth, but now it's just that tooth. My number 3 is Seasons dice. I mean, they're awesome for all the obvious reasons.
Ah, yeah. And my number 3 is the dice for 2201 Space Movers, which is a co-op game where you throw the dice into a box when you do a check. And so the next person who goes, if your die didn't land the way you want it to, they try to hit your die to make it change. and there's certain spots in the box that are automatic failures. There's a certain result on the die. If it comes up, it's an automatic failure. It's great. The tension and just
is it co-op or
the teamwork? Yeah, it's co-op, and you're working.
Co-op.
Yeah, you're working together,
Okay.
and you're trying to knock each other's dice until you get what you need.
You're like, here, I'll save it. That die roll sucks. Bam, and then it goes into fail. You're like, whoops.
Exactly. Oh, it's great.
This sounds awesome.
Yeah, I love
I want
it.
to play this.
Okay.
My number 3 is it seems like it's going around the table. Seasons. So
That's fair enough. If we had 4, we have all 4 seasons.
yep.
Eric, are you gonna be the winter?
Maybe I'll put it on my
Honorable mention.
Just to do it.
No, it doesn't count.
Number 3 for me is the Dice Town, the poker dice. So you're rolling these poker dice. They're 9, 10, Jack, Queen, King, and a spade, which is ace.
That's fair.
Yeah.
My number 2 is the dice from Dragon Dice. This is an older game, but it was really neat because each die represented a character, and so it had its like face and its attacks and arms and all this other stuff, and you had like an army of dice, but actually represented your people, and so it was really cool.
Are they metal as well?
I think they made a set of metal dragons, if I remember correctly, but the actual dice are just normal dice.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they're bigger than normal size dice. They're like 16 millimeter maybe. Not that anybody can think that offhand, but and they're always like 2 colors, so they're like these like tidal elves or something. They were like kind of blue and like tan, and I don't know, maybe they're blue and white, but they're fantastic dice.
Sweet.
Yeah, I always
have a
wanted
ton of
to
them.
try that game out.
I have a ton of it.
Yes.
All right. My number 2 are the dice from Champions of Midgard, because they never do what I want them to do.
That's fair.
But I just love that. I love the fact that they made them to where you don't just get what you want. You have to, take a risk.
Yeah. Have you played the expansion?
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
I like the expansions.
Oh yeah.
Number 2.
Yep.
I just looked at it. What was it?
Eventually, we'll do Champions of Midgard with expansion for In the Pit with Waterdeep in its expansion.
Ooh, I know my choice.
Yeah.
I'm going with. I looked at it twice. Dice Town.
That's
bam.
Yeah,
Bam.
I like poker, and it's got poker symbols on it. So.
And the cups.
Yeah.
And the cups.
Didn't they come out with other games that you can play with those same dice as well, like other card games that you could play, like kind of card games?
There's a couple of games that use the poker dice, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
The dice, I think, in Dice Town were created for Dice Town. I don't think they're the standard dice that you find in those other games.
Yeah.
Or at least there's some differences anyway.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I've seen some kind of poker dice in the 5-in-1 game sets and stuff.
Yeah.
I've never actually looked at the dice and seen.
I think the other game's called
layout of
Shooters or something. Anyway, keep going.
All right, number 2 is Quarriers and Dice Masters. I like how they implement those dice, and you get to roll them and upgrade your character, and it has attack stats and defense stats and whatnot. So, yeah.
Well, I couldn't find it very fast. So it's at Walmart, though. It's not called Shooters. It's called something else. What are we doing? Honorable mention? Yeah. My honorable mention is the dice from Dice Forge, but specifically because I don't really consider them custom dice. It's more just a bunch of plastic pieces that you make a dice out of. So it's, it fits this list, but not so much that it should be in the top. It's just kind of an honorable mention. So. Fantastic game, worth $20.
Yes.
My honorable mention is
that was an inside joke.
Anyway.
Somebody texted Eric and I was like, "Yeah, is this game worth $20?" And I said some harsh words in a good way. It's like, yeah, well, not appropriate for the podcast words. I was like, yes. Anyway,
so. For my honorable mention, it's the dice from the first game that Tim and Eric and I played at that Irish pub. I can't remember the name of it.
O'Shea's,
thank you. Yeah. And it's the dice for Direwild, and it 1d6 and 1d3 on a d6, I guess. But anyway, the die that we were playing with weren't the custom ones, but I did get the custom ones now, and they have like slashes on them. They just look cool.
That's pretty cool.
That's cool.
This is going to surprise Tim and Eric.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
All right.
My
let's do
honorable
it.
mention is actually the Bang the Dice game dice. I just don't like the game, but I think I like the
The dice
symbols
are
on the
good.
dice.
It's got some cool symbols.
Yeah.
It's got a bug.
This one's got surprise you guys too, but it's categories.
The big die.
Huge D20 letter die.
With the letters on it.
Oh,
Yeah.
As an honorable mention.
That's
a
fair.
good. That's a good one.
My number one is the dice from Mage Wars. For kind of the same reason that City of Remnants was on my list. I love the layout of the dice, and they're so fun to roll because the outcome of the dice, right? So that they're basically a 0-1-2-0-1-2. One of the ones and one of the twos have a burst mark on it. They're crits, and the crits go through armor. The basic 1 and 2 does not, but you have blanks. So it's just a really functional thing for the game. It really plays out really well. It's really nice. And they have translucent versions of the dice that are really nice. They have of different colors, so you can kind of customize your own, come to the table with your own dice, like colors or whatever. So
Yeah.
they're really fun.
Cool. My number one are the dice from Kung Fu Zoo. And they're animal dice. They're 6-sided, but you have a gorilla, and if you're looking down at the top of it, it'll be the top of his head, and then the front will be his face, and then his arms on the side, and he's got his butt on the back, and his feet on the bottom, and so there's a gorilla, and there's a zebra like that, and a elephant, and a big cat. And what you do in the game is you're shooting these dice at other dice, trying to knock them into holes to knock them out of the arena. And the side that you land on determines whether you're stunned, if your feet are up,
Nice.
or if you get special abilities depending on what your animal is. It's so much fun. They're
Sounds
so
awesome.
cute.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. My number one is couriers. I just there is so many different dice. They all have all this different symbols on them and stuff that goes along with what they do, and it's neat to sit there and try and build your bag and all that stuff. So
Yeah. I actually really debated putting quarters on here.
That's good.
those were some of the really first very customized dice.
The Dice Master ones are probably better in terms of quality,
Well,
But basically, they're doing the same
but they're
thing.
exactly
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Number one for me is your honorable mention is Dice Forge Dice, which is also in other games, but I just like the ability to be able to customize your dice.
That's fair. Those dice are only in that game. There's the ability to customize other dice, but the Dice Force dice destroy the
Rattlebone.
The
Rattlebones?
Rattlebones
Oh,
and stuff.
those weren't the same dice.
No, they're not. Yeah.
Okay.
So the Rattlebones are kind of like circles that you put on, and the Dice Forge are squares.
The Rattlebone was very like the Lego.
Yeah.
Almost like the Lego dice.
yeah, I was going to say
kinda
the
close to
Lego.
that.
Exactly.
Yeah, the Dice Forge dice are way better
All right,
quality
Dice
wise.
Forge ones.
Yeah, go with that. All right, so since you guys weren't on the episode, do you have anything you want to go, you want to chime in with the previous episode's top 5 list, or are you good?
No, I have stuff I want to chime in on.
Yeah, I got some.
And just real quick, I'm surprised that nobody said those rocket dice from Alien Frontiers.
I haven't played it. I saw
either.
them. I
Yeah.
also thought about the bullet dice
Yeah.
from Tiny Epic Western.
Tiny Epic Western,
Yeah.
I wanted to put stuff on here I've actually had experience with, because it wasn't just about how cool it looked, it was about the functionality to me as well.
True.
So
That's fair.
yeah.
Yep.
All right, Matt, let's start with you.
My number 5, just because I haven't played it, but
Well, real quick, you're going to burn through all 5 of yours.
just go through all 5.
Yeah, this is your top 5 favorite components. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And I didn't do an honorable mention on it, but whatever.
That's fine.
So my number 5, the Kingdom Death Monster, the big monsters that you fight.
Yes.
I think that's awesome.
Yes.
Like the miniatures that you put together?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah, those are awesome. My number 4 is the pet eggs from Dungeon Pets, just because they're all different and they spin, and it shows how they grow and what they want to eat.
Absolutely agree with you.
Number 3, for some reason I really like the clock from Mysterium. It's just cool looking, and I like that it counts your rounds and all that stuff.
It's functional.
My number 2, Harry Potter Battle for Hogwarts has these really awesome skull tokens. They are super chunky. It was such a weird random surprise that came in this game.
I didn't know.
But they're really neat. And then my number 1 is the gold ring from Nothing Personal.
Fair enough. Yeah,
Nice.
I like that ring.
Was it the
That
capo
is
ring or
Capo
something?
ring.
Yeah.
That's
You
a nice
You
touch.
actually
Yeah, you
wear it. And you're
Yeah. Kiss the ring.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so these aren't necessarily my favorite components, but these are like top 5 random things that I couldn't fit on
No
the
specific
list.
order.
But I do like them. I like them a lot. Okay, so my number 5 are the clubs from Argtech,
Yeah.
where you get to whack the other
yeah.
players.
Okay.
As a caveman, you get to hit the other players. That's great. My number 4, the ship and the timers from A Tale of Pirates, which is an app-driven game where you have a ship and you have to do things on the ship by flipping timers over, and yeah, it's really good, and they fit in well. My number 3 would be the bears, the little porcelain bears from Rescue Polar Bears, which is the only reason to own this game, unfortunately.
Just for the bears.
Just for the bears. That's sadly it's got some issues. But my number 2 are the plastic shakers and the metal pans from a la carte, where you're seasoning food, and so you have these cubes and you have to shake them out without like messing it up and getting too much salt or whatever. Oh, that's great. And then my honorable mention. This is an honorable mention because the game is essentially dead, but it's probably the most worked on component I've ever had, and it's the spell books from Serpent's Tongue. They did such an amazing job on these. They didn't keep up with the actual game itself, unfortunately.
Too bad.
Boo.
Yeah. Although the game is great, if you don't play with actually having to learn magic. Anyway, it's bizarre. But the number 1 are any of the quote-unquote meeples from Fragor games, which are, like the Sheer Panic Sheep, or the dragons from Dragon Scroll, or any of the fish from Poseidon's Kingdom. Like all the Fragor pieces are these little, what are they made out of? Clay, I guess.
That's cool.
Or porcelain. They're like Christmas ornaments, massive.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Oh yeah, like every one of their games. That's their big thing. There's Antler Island where these you get deer. I mean, they're all gorgeous and they're all just massive, and it's the best thing about their games. Maybe.
Nice.
I probably learned more about board games in this episode than I had.
All kinds of games to check out.
I did have an honorable mention I just thought of.
All right, do it.
Growing up, past the pigs.
Yeah, you can roll the pigs.
Yeah, the little rubber pigs that would come, because I didn't play the game. I just like messing with the pigs. I thought they were neat.
Me and Tim played it one day.
Yeah, actually, we played that right by his back door,
Yeah,
which
he's
is
like,
like
"Oh,
the
wait a
weird.
We'll play this real
Yeah,
quick.
that's weird.
We just pulled up like I don't even
On the
know,
floor.
a box, a shoe box or something. We played
No,
it
we
on
did
there.
right on the floor.
Did we on the? Yeah, it was really funny.
Yeah, I remember that one. And it's like how the pigs roll.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because they can land in different ways and stuff. Yeah,
I think there's an auto win if they both
each
land
other.
up.
I think if one's on
was
top
that
of the
it?
other one.
Yeah,
or
if they're on,
something.
one's
yeah.
on top of the other.
Yeah.
They redid that idea with some kind of a beer game, some kind of German little beer game. I can't remember what it's called now, but it begins with a P.
With pigs.
It has pigs, but it's more about beer.
Huh.
Or maybe it's barrels. Maybe we're rolling barrels now.
That would make more sense.
That would make a lot more sense.
That would make sense.
There's also a frog game called Ponder, Ponder, and you roll frogs when you fight.
And they say Budweiser.
And the way they land
That's
is
a blast
like
from the
what you do in
past.
the fight.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's great.
All right, so let's move on to our final topic of the episode here.